Good evening, everyone. My name is Betty Covington. I am the District 3 Training Director this year. We are joined tonight by our Program Quality Director, David Hopper, and we have a very special presenter this evening. Kristy Hopper joined Toastmasters in October of 2017. She has served in various club officer roles, including VPPR, VPE, and president. Kristy has volunteered and facilitated at TLI, supported the club growth team as club assist chair, and volunteers for several conference and special events committees. She was awarded the 2018-2019 Area Director of the Year Award following a successful year of service and a President's Distinguished Area. Kristy also served as the chief editor of the district newsletter, The Roadrunner, and is vice president of public relations for her home club in Tucson, Arizona, from pen to podium Toastmasters. Kristy is going to do a presentation tonight on putting some zip in your Zoom. Kristy, welcome.
Thank you, Betty, and thank you everyone for being here. We really appreciate everyone's participation. And I first want to start off with a quick presentation of how to look your best on Zoom. So first, I think the first thing to think about, and one of the most important, is lighting. Lighting is critical. There's probably not a more important aspect to looking good on camera than lighting. And one of the biggest mistakes people make is to sit with a bright window behind them, which has an effect of causing the camera to underexpose and create a silhouette. Your face is in shadow. If you can, you want to sit facing your light source. Have the window or a bright light source in front of you, or no more than 45 degrees from being directly in front. Natural light, you'll notice from a window, is almost always better than artificial light because artificial light comes in different colors. And you may not notice that with your eye, but on video, colors of lights can make you look better or worse. So you can always experiment with warm and cool light bulbs if that helps. And if you need a little help with your lighting, there's also devices you can buy. A special light that attaches to your laptop or the top of your monitor screen. One popular one I've seen recently is called the LumiCube. Some people also use ring lights, or just a really good lamp up in front of you. Always be aware also that your screen, your monitor screen, provides some brightness to you as well. So if you feel like you're really washed out and look ghostly, you could play with the brightness on your screen and minimize that effect. The next thing that you want to think about is controlling your background. Bright light behind you isn't the only background issue that you should pay attention to, and be mindful about what's in your background. Virtual meetings give others a peek into our private lives and our private spaces, and I don't think they really need a visual of your dirty dishes stacked up on the counter or the tornado of your living room or home office. If you can, position yourself in front of a simple and neutral background, maybe a blank wall or a wall with just a few items on it. It's best to pick something clean and simple without busy patterns. And if you're on video meetings frequently, it's worth having a dedicated space if possible, so that you're intentional about what's behind you. Not everyone has the luxury to have a dedicated space. But the good news is that tools like Zoom and WebEx and all the other virtual meeting spaces online have an option for a custom virtual background. And that can hide anything behind you. You don't really have to worry about what's going on. But there is a catch to that, and for most systems, it requires certain parameters from your laptop or your device. If the speed or the processor is not up to the challenge, then a virtual background, you'll notice, probably doesn't work for you. And in those situations, it requires that you have a green screen. My own background, I have a virtual background, and my computer won't do them, so I actually did invest in a fairly cheap green screen from Amazon, and it works beautifully. So the next thing you want to think about is your camera position and angle. And let's be honest, up the nose is not the best angle for anyone. Instead, your best bet is to have the camera at a height that can be adjusted just slightly down at you or at eye level. You want to have it pointed down at your eyes, nothing too extreme, but you want to try to achieve the most flattering angle of view. If the camera is angled up at you, you'll show off your nose hair and a lot of chin. And if it's too high, you'll end up looking like you have a really big forehead. So you want to try and get it as close to anywhere between your hairline and your eye level. The other thing you want to think about is your distance. If you're too far or if you're too close, if you're too close to the camera, it's going to end up cutting off parts of your head. You want to find a spot where you fill the frame at least 1/3. You don't want to be a floating head near the bottom, and you don't want to be so close that you're cutting off the top of your head. Position the camera so that you're squarely in the middle of the frame and you're nicely lit and you take up at least 1/3 of the space. The other thing that you can think of is camera elevation. We all know that our table or our desktop is going to be lower than your face and eye level, and that means that if your device is sitting on your desktop, most likely people are getting an unflattering look up at you. So you want to raise your device, and to do so, you can find some easy stuff at home to prop it up. You can use a set of books or a stool or anything higher that makes your camera at the same level of your eyes. Another option is to buy a riser or a stand. My favorite for a laptop is an adjustable laptop stand. It's adjustable in 2 positions, so you can change the angle and the height to whatever fits you best. And then there's also a tablet and phone stand holder. And the interesting thing about the tablet and phone stand holder is it fits a standard handheld phone device or a tablet device because it's adjustable. And not only that, but it adjusts angles and you can raise it up and down as well. So you can use it sitting down on a desktop. You can also use it standing up on a counter if you want to stand up and speak. Then you want to think about your audio. And with audio, we mean 2 things. We mean sound and microphone. So with that, you have speakers on a laptop and a microphone on a laptop. You can also have headphones that have a built-in microphone. You want to test different devices. How you sound is almost important as how you look. A microphone or a good pair of headphones can make a big difference, especially when it comes to reducing background noise. A concentrated microphone that might reduce noise around you is going to help. Some popular choices are like Apple AirPods or wireless headsets, but honestly, even a simple pair of wired earbuds with a built-in microphone can help you sound better than the built-in microphone on your laptop. If you have an external webcam, some are actually equipped with very good quality microphones. So test out all the various devices and microphones that are available to you to optimize your audio quality. Most video conferencing apps have a tool in their settings where you can test your speakers and mic. And I recommend collecting everything you can and test them all out to find one that sounds the clearest. My tool of choice is a Bluetooth headset with a microphone. The one I got on Amazon, and all of these links in this PowerPoint presentation will be emailed to everyone too. And they're not too expensive items. This one has a charging base and it's wireless, so I can just pick it up and put it on, and it can also connect to 2 devices at once. So I really like just this model. And then let's talk about video. So before you enter a meeting, you can actually test your video. And you want to show up at your meetings already looking good and not, making adjustments to your surroundings or your screen brightness or your angle of your camera or fixing your hair. Zoom has an option where you can do a video preview before you join a meeting. So when you click on that Zoom link to join a meeting, the first thing you'll see instead of the meeting and their attendees is your own video. And you can just make sure that everything's cool, there's nothing you need to worry about it, and then you can close it and join the meeting with or without video. Once the call starts, you can consider hiding your video preview from yourself. And this will help, not only will you be less prone to fixing your own hair or moving your camera or adjusting things, because you can't see yourself, you're not focused on yourself, you're focused on everybody else. And you're only hiding yourself, your own view from yourself. Everyone else can still see you. But again, this is just an option, and you can do that in Zoom by right-clicking on your own video window and choosing Hide Myself. It can be easy to forget that you're on camera without your own video preview, so try not to forget and, pick your nose or something embarrassing. Then there are options to clean up your image. And the first thing I want to talk about is what to wear. You want to avoid busy patterns like checks, florals, tiny stripes. These can have a moire effect. And this happened to me in one meeting. I didn't think the shirt I was wearing was all that busy, but I looked like one of those, weird eye test things. And it was very, very, very difficult to look at. So I try to stick to solid, bright colors. You can dress like a newscaster. Take a cue from anchors who are almost always dressed in solid, bright colors. You can be business on top and pajama bottoms on the bottom. No one will ever tell. You can also use Zoom features, Zoom settings to touch up your appearance. Zoom actually has a feature built in specifically for making you look better. In the Zoom desktop app, there's a touch up my appearance option that applies some skin smoothing effects. It's kind of like taking a selfie with a filter. It's not perfect, but it does make a pretty big difference. In this picture, she's got some blemishes and she's got some weird things going on, and you can see the difference between the left and the right side. And the right side, her appearance is much more smoother. It's just like a slight softening, blurring effect. And it really helps, especially if you haven't, ladies or gentlemen, if you wear makeup, if you haven't put on makeup, you kind of don't have to with this effect. It's kind of cool. But I'll remind you that this feature works best with better lighting. If you don't have appropriate lighting, it really is not effective at all. And I told you, most of this comes down to lighting. You want to make sure that you get comfortable before a meeting. Much like being in a physical meeting, once you're there, you shouldn't be getting up and moving around. We meet in person, and we all try to use the restroom and get a drink before the meeting starts because we don't want to disrupt anybody. So you want to start with a comfortable place to sit or stand for a long period of time. And although I typically like to sit at my desk, I find that sitting in my chair for more than 30 minutes can be a little too uncomfortable for me. I don't know if anyone has ever experienced that, but I feel like my tailbone goes to sleep. So I got a special seat cushion that helps, and I find that if I can find a few minutes where I'm not speaking and I don't have any role, to disable my video and stand up and stretch and get some blood flow moving again. You may want to move between sitting and standing. If you're using a laptop, you want to make sure that you have your charger plugged in and ready if your battery gets low. One of my first Zoom meetings that I was hosting, I failed to plug in my laptop, and about 40 minutes into our meeting, my laptop ran out of battery and just died. That was pretty embarrassing, and I have learned my lesson, and it's never happened since. But also think about other things you might need. Do you need a pen and paper? I like to make sure that I have a drink, water, or a cup of coffee with me. Anything that I might need to be comfortable for a period of time is right here with me. The next is to keep in mind that we all have a mute button. Do you know where your mute button is? Use it. Don't be afraid to use it. If other people are talking, even if you're not making a noise, but there's a noise in the background, what will happen is the camera focus will turn to you for just a moment, and then it'll return to the speaker again. But if you're not on mute, the camera might, the microphone might pick up a noise and focus the camera on you. Especially during Toastmasters meetings where a speaker is presenting, you want the focus on the presenter. So it's always a good idea, if you're not speaking, to keep your mic muted. This presentation will also include some free Zoom backgrounds that you can use to disguise your messy rooms. These will be emailed to everybody later, and now what I want to do is stop sharing, and we're actually going to go through Zoom controls now. And the Zoom controls will go through, hopefully you guys can see my Zoom windows. Okay. So can I get a affirmative that we can see my Zoom window? Okay, thank you, Karen Garvin. So there's two places where you can access your account settings, and the information that you can control in those two places is different. Some of it is overlapped. Some of it is the same, but there are some things that you cannot turn on and off in the Zoom app settings. You have to go to the online settings. So we're going to start with the Zoom app settings, and you can get to your settings with the little gear. And I will pull my settings window over. Can you guys see my settings window now? Yep, Karen's nodding. Thank you. So there's lots of tabs here for all the different setting topics. And most of them, again, you're going to find a lot of this online as well. But this is the View More Settings button, which will pop open your settings in your browser. And now it's going to want me to sign in. Okay, so this is what your settings in your online account will look like. You've got this menu on the left side for settings. And then at the top, you'll have 3 tabs of settings: meeting settings, recording settings, and telephone settings. So we'll start with the generic ones that are available on the app. And I will tell you too, if you guys haven't updated your Zoom desktop app to the most current version, your settings may be a little bit different from mine, but I recommend that you update that. And if you need to know how to do that, we can go over that in a moment as well. So in the general settings, you know, these are pretty self-explanatory. The thing that the settings I think are most important are what I'm going to highlight. So if you have two monitors, you want to make sure that you've told Zoom that I use dual monitors. If Zoom doesn't know that you have dual monitors, it might behave a little differently. I do not like full screen mode, so I have that disabled. Always show meeting controls. The meeting controls are your mute, your stop video, your share screen, your annotation, all of those tools. And I don't want those tools to ever go away or be hidden, so I keep those always showing. You can change all of these up whenever you want, but let's move on to video. Now in video, you can mirror your video. Now I don't know what, mirroring your video means that you see what people see rather than, it's like if you're looking in the mirror versus if somebody was actually looking at you. It's like a reverse image. Touching up my appearance. This is the one I was talking about. So if you want to touch up your appearance, you can actually slide the effect. So I'm going to go all the way. And I don't know if you guys can see, but I look there's a lot of soft focus and blur on my face. And you can dial that down. And it's less of an effect. But again, this is just if you're a little insecure or vain and you want to smooth some of those lines or some of those imperfections. And then there's an adjust for low light. If you just can't get enough light, you can turn this on, and you'll see when I turn it on and off, there's a slight difference. There's a slight bump in the brightness. And really that's all it's doing is it's playing with the brightness. And you can have it, you can adjust it auto or have it manual. And if you really want to be bright, it can be a shining star. But I tend to have enough light, so I don't really have that on. So let's see, next ones. Always display participant video names on their videos. These are, again, just simple things. If you want to turn them on and off, just go through. This is the one. Always show video preview dialogue when joining a video meeting. So this is the one that's always gonna, if you have this enabled, this is what's going to allow you to see what other people might see before they see it. If you're joining a meeting and normally, let's say you sit around in your boxers with no shirt on, and you're planning to join a meeting just to listen. You're not going to talk. You're not presenting. You don't need to be on video. Don't forget that you don't have a shirt on. And the best way is to enable this preview video before joining a video meeting. This option is actually really cool. This will hide all non-video participants from your view. When you're looking at your Zoom window and you see the Brady Bunch boxes of all of the participants, you see a lot of people with no video. They're non-video participants. Clicking this will hide them, and then you'll just see the people who are on video. I kind of like seeing everybody in one spot, and the blank tiles don't bother me, so I leave that off. And then you can choose to spotlight your own video when you speak. Now, this is for your view. It does not affect other people's. And then if you click the advanced here, it's going to take you back to the web settings, and we'll go through those as well. So then we look at the audio settings, and this is where you can test your speaker and microphone. This test is also available in your own Zoom window. Let's see if I can find this. Next to your mute button is a little caret, a drop-down menu, if you will. And that drop-down menu, if you click that, it should give you should have an option to test speaker and test mic. And these are very simple. The test speaker will play a sound and ask you, do you hear it? And you can say yes or no. And if it says no, if you say no, I don't hear that, it will start to help troubleshoot. Same thing for the mic. If you hit test mic, you say something, speak, and it's going to replay it back to you. And then you can adjust your volume for your microphone and your speaker here as well. There's other settings. Automatically join audio by computer when joining a meeting. I typically do use my computer for the audio. Tonight I'm not. And then I always want my microphone muted when I'm joining a meeting. There may be noise going on and I don't want to interrupt if something is going on when I'm joining a meeting. And this is a feature I really, really like. Press and hold space key to temporarily unmute yourself. So if you're in a meeting and somebody is asking yes or no questions, or you just have a quick response, you don't have to unmute yourself and mute yourself. You can just hold down your space bar, speak, and then let it go, and you're automatically muted again. Sharing screen. So this is another one where I don't like the full screen mode. If someone starts sharing, the window maximizes and takes up your entire screen, and I generally don't like that. Some people do. This one shows Zoom windows during screen share. If you're trying to show someone something in Zoom, then you need this checked. Otherwise, your Zoom windows are hidden from all the participants if you're screen sharing. So a lot of times somebody's like, well, here, I'll show you. And then I'm like, no, I can't see your Zoom window. I can't see your Zoom window because this is disabled. Enabling the remote control of all applications. This would mean that if you were sharing your screen and you gave somebody control of your sharing, they could control all of your applications. I don't recommend ever enabling that. And then side-by-side mode will give the presenter and their presentation in a side-by-side mode. So I like that. When you're sharing a screen, you can see the speaker view and whatever they're sharing. And then this one, silence system notifications when sharing a desktop. I don't know if you guys have the pop-ups that come in on the bottom right side when you get an email or you have a calendar reminder. This is a nice option to keep those silenced while you're presenting. And then again, here's that advanced button. That advanced button is going to take you into the online settings. So most of these windows have an advanced button that will take you to the web system. So here's the chat, and we've all used the chat. I see there's some people using the chat tonight. So the chat settings, there's a ton of settings in the chat. I don't think these really contribute much to meetings. A lot of these are very personal, so I'm not going to go through those. You guys can explore those settings on your own. I actually would say that that's not true. For unread messages, try to keep all unread messages on top. That might be a good one to keep on. Now, this is the one setting that might look different for people who aren't using the same Zoom version that I have. Zoom recently updated their virtual background feature, and it's no longer called virtual background. It's now called background and filters. They've added some interesting filters. So setting up a virtual background is very easy. You can choose one. The system comes with, I think this is the Golden Gate Bridge. It comes with outer space and then this green grass picture. Toastmasters has virtual backgrounds that you can download from the Toastmasters.org website. You can make a custom one for your meeting, your club meetings. And another nice thing that Toastmasters International has are timer backgrounds. They've got green, yellow, and red. You can download any picture. You can take a picture that you took and put it in here. There's a lot of interesting ones online. All you have to do to add your own picture, if you've downloaded it or you've taken it yourself, is to click on the plus add image sign and then click add image. And it's going to want to browse to background. You pick your picture and then it'll appear in the window below. I've downloaded quite a few. Some are humorous. If you watch The Office, you'll recognize this scene. Michael Scott is not happy that I'm talking to the camera. So some of these are really fun and funny, and I've used them for meetings to get a laugh out of people. But for the most part, I try to just use this one that looks like I have a really awesome organized office, which I don't. And again, this one, I have to have a green screen. If I didn't, this would look very, very, very weird. So the filters are interesting. So these are similar to filters that you might use if you are taking a selfie or putting a picture on Instagram or Facebook. Some people have played with filters, some haven't. But they basically just, you've got these tones, they've got some funny ones. And this is pretty new. You can do, I think there's even a pirate one. I mean, it's pretty silly and funny. If you're trying to have maybe add a little bit of fun to a meeting, you could have people pick different filters for the video. I just feel like it's very funny. Okay, moving on, recording. So this is where you can say you can tell Zoom where you want to save your recordings after they're done. And you can choose a different location every time the meeting ends. I have a folder. They all go in the same folder. That's fine with me. If you're going to maybe edit something or you want to use audio for something else, you can record a separate audio file for each participant who speaks. I've never tried this. It sounds like a lot of work to me. So I'm not in any hurry to try it right now. But these are your recording settings. And then you have your profile settings where you can edit your picture and whatnot. The statistics and the feedback and the keyboard shortcuts, these aren't really necessary. There are some like starting and stopping video or muting and unmuting yourself. There's keyboard shortcuts for those who like to use keyboard shortcuts. And then there are accessibility settings if those are needed. So these are the settings that you can control and play with within the app. And if you want to get more serious, you've got to go online. So in your account settings, under meeting, you've got different sections. And this is a very long page of meetings. I'm going to try and scroll through and just hit the important ones. So the first thing is a waiting room. A waiting room means that when people click on your meeting link, they go into a holding room and they can't see who's online, they can't see anything, it says waiting for host to let you in. This is enabled, but I typically don't have a waiting room for meetings. It's a personal preference. As of September 27th, I think, I'm not sure of the date exactly, this is no longer going to be an option. Zoom is going to require that every meeting has a passcode. The thing I like is well, I think we'll get to it a little later. This is the important one I like, is the embed passcode in your link. So if you make sure that your meeting passcode, it's encrypted, but it's embedded in the link so that anybody you share the link with, they don't need to enter the passcode to join. It automatically enters the passcode for them. This is another one, require passcode for participants joining by phone. This, I highly recommend that you turn this off. The reason is because the more buttons someone has to push on their phone to call in, the greater chance that they're going to mess up. So also, sometimes they can't find it in the invite. Where's the passcode? So just don't require a passcode for people who call in. As a host, you have complete control of your meeting. You can kick out somebody who's not invited or somebody who's being disruptive. So I think that it's a good rule of thumb to try and make joining a meeting as easy as possible for everyone involved. So next we're going to go to, we're going to keep going. Okay, chatting. Allow participants to send messages to other participants. That's always a good thing to keep turned on. And allow participants to send private messages to each other. This also, I think, is a good option, but I would like to remind everybody that chats are not private in Zoom. The host will get a downloaded copy of the meeting chat, even private messages. So be careful who you're teasing and making fun of in meetings, because the host will see it all. You can also have Zoom automatically save chats for every meeting that you hold, and you can turn this on and off if you want. For sound notifications when someone joins or leaves, I like for the host and co-host only to know when those chimes are really annoying and they can be disruptive to people, but I feel like the host and the co-host can deal with it, and we can handle it. I like to leave that on for host and co-host only. This one, I don't like this one at all. When someone joins by phone, ask them to record their voice to use as a notification. This is okay as long as only the host is going to hear it. You don't want someone to join 5 minutes late and come in, Kristy Hopper, interrupting the meeting. So if you ask them to record their voice to announce themselves, make sure that only the host or co-host are going to hear that. I actually like that. File transfers. This allows you to send files in the chat. I've been in some meetings where somebody was trying to put the agenda in the chat, but the host had that disabled. And so unfortunately, a lot of these controls, if you've already created the meeting link and these were not enabled, enabling them in your settings does not automatically enable them in that link. That link was created at a time when settings were set a certain way. So you're going to want to maybe create a new link if you want to enable some of these settings. Let's see here. So we're going to go down to polling. Polling is really fun, but you have to enable it. Again, if you don't have it enabled, it's not going to work. So you want to be sure you turn that on. I like to always make somebody else a co-host so they can help me host a meeting, so I've got that turned on. And again, always show meeting control toolbar. This was one of those settings that we found in the app settings, and I have it enabled, and show Zoom windows during the screen share. I also had that enabled. So here's for the screen sharing. Who can share? You can turn screen sharing on and off. If it's on, you could determine who is allowed to share. Can only the host share, all participants? And who can start sharing when someone else is sharing? Who can hijack the sharing? Only the host? Do you want everybody to be able to just take over whenever they want? So those are the questions to ask yourself. This one, disable desktop and screen share for users. That means that when a user wants to share their screen, they can't share their screen, their whole screen. It's only allowed sharing of selected applications. So this I have off. I was in a meeting the other day and someone was like, well, I can't share my screen. I can only share, that one window, the PowerPoint window. They can't share the whole screen. Well, that's because the host had this disabled. Annotation. Annotation tools let you draw on the screen. So if you're sharing a graph or you're sharing some kind of image, you can invite people to grab a marker and write on whatever image is being shared. Ooh, somebody, who did that? That's very cool. Someone circled with screen annotations. And then you can save those annotations as well. If you've worked together brainstorming on something and you want to save what you've all created together, you can do that. Similar tool is the whiteboard. And the whiteboard just basically gives you a blank screen, a white screen that you can write on. You can put pictures on it. You can draw. You can type words into it. And then meeting reactions. Meeting reactions are if you hover over your picture, wait. Where am I? Reactions are at the bottom right of your tools, of your controls. And it looks like they've added a few. We've got Walt did a heart, Wendy did a heart, Betty is clapping. Let's celebrate. So the reactions are nice little pop-ups on the video screen. And they only appear for about 10 seconds and then they go away. Oh, and in Zoom, I don't know if you guys noticed that. I'm going to go back to the Zoom settings. In that first window, you can change the color of your reaction skin tone. You can have the generic or a yellow default, or if you're very pale to very dark, you can change the color of your own personal reactions. All right, meeting reactions. This one, I highly recommend you leave it disabled. If you have kicked somebody out of a meeting for, I assume that you've kicked them out for a reason, and you don't want them coming back in. So if you have this enabled, it allows them to rejoin. This doesn't mean that if they leave the meeting themselves, they can still come back. But if you, the host or the co-host, have removed somebody, you shouldn't allow them to come back in. Allowing participants to rename themselves, absolutely. And I think that in meetings, we should encourage people to rename themselves to identify the roles they're playing during the meeting. If you're speaker number one, rename yourself and put your name dash speaker number one. If you're the timer, put your name dash timer. It's a good idea just to identify who is doing what. Okay, so let's keep going to the next important one. I don't really think any of these are all that important. Email notifications, turn them on or off. Oh wait, actually I do like this one. I get an email notification when an attendee joins my meeting before me. I do try to open meetings at least 15 minutes before the meeting is set to start, just for those early comers. But sometimes I will get a notification a half an hour early that someone has joined my meeting. So that is a good one to keep on. Okay, so that is all of your meeting settings. And then we'll go up to the top and go over to our recording settings. And this meeting is being recorded, so this affects how we'll do this. So local recording. This allows hosts and participants to record the meeting to a local file. I don't use the cloud recording for file storage. I don't record meetings all that often, and when I do, I'm very intentional about where they go and what I do with them. So these are just all the settings on where things go, what gets displayed. I don't think there's really anything much here that we need to discuss except for this last section under recording, and this is a recording disclaimer. And this will show a disclaimer to participants before a recording starts. So you have options. When you push the record button on your Zoom meeting, a pop-up is going to come up for the participant that says the host wants to record, and you say yes, and you click that. So I like to have everybody confirm that they're participating in a recording. If they don't want to, then we ask that they just disable their video and their audio so that they are not recorded either by camera or by microphone. So that's for recording. And then for telephone, these are again just the simple settings for a telephone. I don't really have anybody joining my meetings from abroad, so I do not have the international links in my meeting invites. This is an interesting one if you want to protect people's privacy. If someone joins your meeting by phone, they're not by a phone app, but they're calling into the phone number and they're listening. They show up in the participant window as a phone number. So I tend to prefer that Zoom mask those phone numbers to protect if maybe they don't want to share their phone with 300 people in a webinar or whatever it is. So I highly recommend that you turn that on for people, but I typically, when I see a phone call join one of my meetings, I will ask, hey, whose phone number ends with whatever the digits are, identify yourself, and then when they say their name, I will rename them in the window so that I know who they are and everybody else knows who they are. The other thing, and I don't know if you guys have this or not, but when I first joined Zoom, it had, I don't know, 50 different countries listed in the dial-in regions. You can simply edit those by clicking on the little pencil edit button, and then from there you can choose which countries you want, and those are the numbers that will appear in your invitations. So I think that covers all of our settings and control. David, do we want to open things up for specific questions and how-tos?
Sure. You already had one question on how you make somebody a co-host. So if you want to cover that one.
Okay. So can you confirm that you can see my Zoom screen for participants? I see nodding.
Yes.
Okay. So David is already, oh, I'm a co-host. David, I don't think, can I make other people a co-host?
You should be able to, yes.
No,
Nope.
I can't. No. So this is a setting that, in David's case, because he's the one who created this Zoom link, he does not allow co-hosts to make other people co-hosts. So he can go in and make Betty, do you want to share instead, David? Or do you want to make me host? Oh, he's making me host. I can have all the control. All right, so I am now the host. Betty is the co-host. I'm going to go in and make David a co-host. So you hover over the person's name. You click More and make co-host. I can also return him to the host status. We'll make him a co-host. And then I get a message, do you want to make David Hopper a co-host? Yes, I do. Now, David is going to get...
Show us again how you got that pop-up, this window. How did you get that window?
Participant window?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I will show you that then.
Sorry, I missed the very first step.
That's okay. I'm going to bring my whole Zoom window over so we can see everything. Okay, so this is the gallery view. We see all of our Brady Bunch faces. Betty, at the bottom of your screen in your controls, there's a participant button and a chat button. Right. So to get the participant window open, just click on the participant button. And then this is a free-floating window, participants. And I can actually click on the three dots at the bottom of this window, and I can merge it to my meeting window. And what that's going to do It's going to attach it to this window, and it's no longer free floating. So if I move this window, my participant will stay with it. My participants are here. So you can hover over a participant. I'm going to make Bobby O'Connell a co-host. Again, I hover over Bobby. I click more, and then I can make her a co-host. There's a lot of settings. You can allow people to record. This is how you rename them. You click on, I can't see anybody I want to rename. Roberta. I could rename her to Roberta, but I won't. You can also put someone in a waiting room if you want to talk about them without them knowing. Some clubs do vote new members in, and they typically will escort the member out, and they discuss it and vote, and then bring the new member in and tell them, you know, we welcome you, whatever. That's a way to do it. You can put that new member in your waiting room while you discuss it as a club, and then bring them back in. So let's see. What was another question? Was that a question?
We have several more questions, Kristy.
Okay.
Earlier when you were talking about setting your mirror image.
Yes.
When you were demonstrating the backgrounds, the words were background. Was that because we were watching you in mirror?
The words were backward?
Backwards, yeah. So like you you showed your club background, and the words were mirror imaged, so you couldn't read them.
Right.
Was that because you were in mirror image?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go to my video settings, and you can go to your video settings right from your Zoom controls. At the bottom left where you have your stop video button, there's that little tick caret, and you can go right to your video settings right from the Zoom window. So for mirroring my screen, if I go back to my background and filters, let me find my meeting. Okay, so like, for example, the word green, you guys see it as backwards, right?
Correct.
Okay, so if I turn that off, do you see it normal now?
Perfect.
Okay, so if you want people to be able to read words that you've put, now here's another question. I'm going to get out my timer cards, which is my old school method, and let's go back to here. All right, so in my picture, if I hold this up, I've got let me try the red one instead. You guys see an R or a backwards R?
Regular R.
Okay, so if I was mirroring my video, then it should be backwards, right?
Correct.
Okay, so if you want people to be able to read anything that you have on a card in front of you, or on slides that or a virtual image that you're presenting, then you want to make sure that you're not mirroring your video.
Thank you.
Okay.
Also, the next question was, if you do not enable the waiting room, you said that on 927 that Zoom is going to make some defaults. If you don't have a waiting room, when people log in, are they just automatically in the meeting?
Yes.
And
so
after 927, can we still do that?
There's actually yes, absolutely. That is a control that you can, so they're going to, David, can you talk?
Yes. So on 927, they're going to start requiring passwords for all Zoom meetings. I don't believe it has anything to do with a waiting room, but what you had said earlier was if you either had to choose a waiting room or a passcode. I would have to check on that, but I know they're requiring passcodes.
Yes.
Oh, so, okay. So the waiting room we don't have to have.
No.
Okay.
It will still be an option. Yeah, it will still be an option.
And there was a request for you to redo the part about annotating and drawing on the screen and taking off the drawing tool. Would you go through those steps one more time?
Okay, so you guys see, can you see my annotation tool window here? Okay.
Yes, we can see.
So if you want to click on your own and click on annotate, then you should get this little window, this little menu bar, I should say, that pops up. And you can say, I'm going to click on stamp, and I'm going to stamp. And Colleen McNeese is circling. So you guys can go ahead and play. You can type in some text. Kristy Hopper is here. I see Ken is drawing green. Somebody put in an arrow. We can spotlight with a pointer if you want to use a pointer in a meeting. Hi. I'm disappointed in these drawings. We are not Picasso. You can change the color of whatever you're drawing. I see we've got red, purple, blue. Somebody had orange, yellow. You can change the size and color of your font. I'm going to do green.
And then when we're done, how do we turn it off? When we're done writing on your screen.
So in your, as the host, I can come up here into my, the more button, and I can disable annotation.
So if I was writing on your screen by accident, I can't disable myself?
Yeah, close that. So here, when you have this open like this, if you want to stop, you need to click X. You need to close that annotation menu. Just close it, and it won't allow you to draw anymore.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, does that answer?
The last question that I have found so far is it correct that participants joining a Zoom meeting via a web browser do not have the same functionality that participants joining via the desktop application?
Yes, absolutely. There are joining via the browser app, you have far less settings available to you. And I think that as a host, it's even more challenging.
And how do we know that we've got the latest Zoom app?
Excellent question. So I'm going to bring my, I closed it, I think. I'm going to open it back up again. Okay, so I'm going to click on your profile picture, which is right above your settings button. And then down here, 4 from the bottom is check for updates. And so if you click on that, it'll check for updates. And if there is an update, if you're not using the most current client, then it will tell you, and it will say, do you want to install the update? And I recommend just, I don't know, periodically, once a month, or usually they will send an email or, you know, send a notification that an update is available. When you see those, I would suggest not ignoring them. That updates, just like updating the software on your phone or updating software on your computer, your Windows updates, those are all very important updates. So when you get notifications that there are updates available, you should probably update them.
There was another question earlier, how do you change your profile picture?
Oh, okay. So to change your profile picture, you go back to your settings and click on profile. and then just click on your picture. And then that will bring open this window, and you can click on Change Picture. And from there, you can go to Zoom, pick your picture. You can zoom in and out. You can move it around a little bit, and you can save. Looks like Jim Davis has a question, unless we have something else.
Yes, I do. I was wondering if there's a way to, if you like doing a panel discussion, or if you're doing an interview where you can only have the two tiles showing on the screen at the same time, or say the moderator and the panelists only on the screen. Is that a possibility?
That is a possibility if you have a paid account, and that would be through a webinar. It's not a regular meeting. Panelists and attendees are only available in a webinar format. And you know, with even the cheapest free account at $15 a month allows you to do webinars. And in a webinar, it's very different from a meeting. You have a group of panelists who are allowed to show video and unmute their mic so they can speak. Everyone else in the meeting is listed as an attendee, and they're in an attendee list. You can't see who other attendees are. All you can see as an attendee are the panelists. So a webinar is a very different experience than a meeting.
Yeah. So it'd be different. It would be different than to, you wouldn't be able to do that in the course of a regular meeting unless you're willing to commit to doing a webinar in its place for the meeting.
So Jim, there is one way you could do that. You could have everybody turn off their video except for the two people. And you, as a host, and Kristy can probably show this, you can also turn off people's videos if they haven't turned off their videos.
Yeah, like when you do at deck meetings and stuff, right?
That may be true, but here's the thing. You guys can see my screen, and you'll see that it is, I'm showing everybody. I'm showing people with video, people without video. If you are in the settings under, where was it again? I have to go and find them all.
You can also
David, where's the one?
You can also do that by clicking on anybody's video that is not a video, and do the three little dots. Well,
so yeah, if you just click on click anywhere, right click, not left click, but right click, you'll see that there's a menu that pops up for like Jerry. This menu would be for Jerry. I can unmute Jerry. I can ask Jerry to start video. But one of the options at the very bottom of this list is to hide non-video participants. So that's just for my view. That's not for everybody's view. If I do this, this is what my screen looks like now, but that may not be what everyone else's screen looks like. So the user experience and what they see in their Zoom window is highly dependent on their own settings, and if they've turned on hiding non-video participants or not. So even in that situation, if you have two people speaking or presenting and you want to highlight those two screens, those two videos, you have to tell everybody, hide non-video participants, so that everyone's window looks the same. Does that make sense? See if you nods.
Yeah, so in the current configuration, I'm seeing there's 9 tiles that are live video, and the participants would see these 9 only, right?
So I'm stopping people's video so that just the 3 of us are highlighted. Now, the people, those few people that I just stopped video, David, can they start their own video again, or do we have that turned off? Because that's allow.
You have to ask them to start the video again.
All right. So Aaron,
have to hit
start
it twice.
video. Ask to start video. I don't remember who I hid. Bobby, I know I hid. Oh, I know I hid other people.
I can't restart my video because it says the host has stopped it.
Ken. Let me find Ken. Oh, he's at the top here. Ask to start video. Okay, so now you see that you can, as a host, if you stop someone's video, they can't restart it unless you click on their name on more and hit ask to start video, like Jim Davis. And that happened actually in a district council meeting where someone's video was on and we had asked everybody to take your own video off. If you're not speaking, don't have your video and don't have your mic on. And someone left their video on and we had disabled her video. And when she actually was called to present her report at the district council meeting, she couldn't get her video back on. So, I mean, it was a very unfortunate situation, but a very good lesson learned. Do we have another question?
Yeah.
Another one from Jim.
Yes.
Did Ken, I'm sorry, Jim, hang on a second. Did Ken have a question? He raised his hand.
I do, yes, Kristy. So to continue on, this is probably what David was speaking on earlier. How do we take our profile image and put that in place of, rather than having a video?
Oh, then what you want to do is stop. If you have a profile picture in your account, if you hit stop video, it should display your profile picture. If you don't have a profile picture set up in your profile settings, then it will just have your name.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Jim, you had another question. You need to unmute, Jim.
Thank you. Has anybody come across a really elegant way to be an counter on Zoom? Because it's a number of pubs I visited, it's really awkward and doesn't work real well.
Well, if you remember what I talked about when we were talking about microphones, is that any noise you make is going to spotlight your video if someone else is talking. So as an counter, someone's talking and giving a speech and the focus of the view should be on that speaker. And if you make a click and the microphone picks you up, it's going to spotlight you for a few seconds. As the speaker speaks, it'll return to the speaker. But that's not an ideal situation. I actually haven't heard of a single option as far as using an audio clue for Wendy. It looks like Wendy, yeah, I was going to say visual cues, definitely.
Yes.
Wendy, looks like Jim has a giant yard sign that he holds up. That's effective. Wendy, what is your choice?
The Agua Fria Club found a picture of the word POW in the background. It's yellow and red. You know how when the superheroes are fighting and stuff like that, and they show that when they say a filler word. It seems to work.
That's a great idea.
How did they do it, Wendy? They hold it up just like Jim did?
No, they just click on it.
It's a virtual background. So here, I'm going to actually show you that in the video settings from a meeting. Wait, where's my video settings? There they are. Okay. So, excuse me. I'm going to use it as an example. I'm going to use the timer cards. So, as someone's speaking, you can have this window open. So we've got the meeting here, and I often will have like 5 or 6 Zoom windows open on my various on my two screens here. So you've got the speaker highlighted, and then I'll have this window open. And as a timer, I can see my colors here. I can see my green and my yellow and my red virtual backgrounds. So I watch the time, and as I'm timing, we get to 5 minutes, I can change it to green. And then I can change it to red or yellow, and then I can change it to red. So if you guys have a special effect that you want to use for filler words, let's say we're going to use this one. You say a filler word, I'm going to be on fire. So all you do is click that on and off as they say a filler word. Same thing with the timer. And then another trick I want to show with the timer is if you don't have a green screen. So like I said, if I didn't have my green screen behind me, this would not work. This red, green, and yellow would not work at all. So if you're in that situation, or you know somebody in that situation and they want to be a timer and they want to use these virtual backgrounds to be a timer, the best way to do that is for them to cover their video camera. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to cover my video camera. Now my video camera has a little door that I can raise and lower to hide that. But if you just take a piece of black electrical tape or something, a little piece of dark cardstock or piece of a magazine to cover your camera, then you can use your virtual screens without your camera actually being on. You know, your camera's on, but it's looking at a black image and not you. So for anyone who can't really use virtual backgrounds and they want to use virtual backgrounds for timing specifically, that's the trick that I tell them to do. So when they're not timing the meeting and they want to just appear as themselves, then they can uncover their camera. And then when they go back to timing, cover your camera again. And like I said, if you use a little piece of cardstock or something, tape it onto the top of your camera. You can flip it up and down as you need it. Just work with, you know, whatever makes it work for you. Test it out and play around with it. But that's an interesting way to be a timer.
And Kristy, they put a note in the chat that was a really good reminder. Kristy's saying tape a piece of cardstock, but don't tape over your camera because that can get residue on your camera lens.
Yes.
Jimmy,
very,
another question?
Very good.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Muted.
So Nancy had a question earlier. Can you show us how to use the polling feature?
Okay. So polling is turned on. And we're going to go to David, where's the polling button? Start a poll.
I have it. It's under More. Do you not have it? Do you see my Zoom controls?
Yep.
All right. So under my More, I have the poll feature. And it's probably the reason why I'm the only one seeing the poll feature is because this is my account. And so even though I made her host, you can set up polls before the meeting or you can set them up during the meeting, but it's always going to take you to the website. I'm going to click on poll here and I don't have any poll set up. So I'm going to go ahead and add a question, but you see that's going to take me to the website. So I got to kind of move this out of the way. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm just going to say that once you've enabled a poll for a meeting, if you go to the settings online in the meeting, you can add these questions online before the meeting. Or you can start the meeting early and add your poll questions in. Just know that it's best to have them in and prepared before the meeting starts.
All right. Do you see my Internet Explorer here?
Yes. Yes.
All right, so now you have to enter a title for the poll. I'm just going to call it, poll. and then you would type a question. You always have to have at least 2 answers. So I'm going to say,
amazing.
Watch it. Watch it.
and then I'm going to hit save.
You can add multiple questions to that poll.
Yes, you can. So now that I've hit save, I can go back to this window and you see that there's now a poll that I can launch. So at the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and say launch poll, and everybody should get
everyone should get. Mm-hmm.
And you can
now,
see on my
hosts and co-hosts cannot vote in polls. Only participants. Come on, one person can tell me I'm bad.
So what you can see
my
here
won't be hurt.
Is on my screen, I can actually kind of monitor the poll and see how people are polling. So I can see that 24 out of 38 have submitted the poll, and I can kind of see how it's working. So here I can kind of judge when I want to end the poll by how many people are voting. So I'm going to go ahead and end the poll, and then I get the option to share results. If I decide not to share results, nobody's going to see them. If I share results, you should all be seeing the shared results of that poll. And then I can stop sharing and close the poll.
Well, that was hurtful of 3 people who said I was bad.
You asked for it.
Just kidding. Just kidding. Okay. Was there another question?
Yeah, there's a comment in here that might be a good thing to do for best table topic speaker. You could set it up in advance and people could vote for any of the best speakers or table topics or whatever.
So Betty, I actually do that in, I actually do that in my home club. And what I do is when table topic starts, I go ahead and launch that. And then I actually will sit there and type their name in as they get called. And then at the end of the meeting, I have that ready to go, but I've got the poll set up as I'm typing in.
And I am going to just tell everybody, as an alternative in our club, whoever the topics master is, down in the chat, you can pull up the topic master's name and you can just send a chat message also if you don't want to do the poll.
Yep, and that is another really good reason why you should allow your participants to privately chat with each other, so that if you're going to use chat as your tool for voting, you want people to be able to send that chat privately to whoever is your ballot counter.
Now, some people have the spark plug of the meeting, which virtually can mean anybody in the meeting. And when you have more than 10 people in the meeting, poll is limited to 10 people. So you have to have 2 polls, and one on each of them that has to have one of the answers has to be nobody on this page. And because you got to vote in all poll questions in order to register your vote. And that gets a little cumbersome to do. I know
easier to just use the chat.
Trying to do Google Forms that they can paste into chat that will give them wider options.
Yeah, there's actually a really interesting web tool called Menti, M-E-N-T-I, and it allows you to do little surveys and polls. And that we've used for our spark plug because we didn't want to mess around with multiple poll questions for again, the responses on your poll are limited to 10. So if you have, again, if you're doing a spark plug and everyone in the meeting, you've got 20 people in the meeting, that's a long poll. The way the Menti works is people put in their name. So it forms like a word cloud, and the name typed in the most is the biggest. So that was another interesting little tool for voting that I found was cool.
One last question, honestly. If you've got a grammarian that wants to put their word of the name into one of the tiles, I know that they can give up their video and type in, instead of their name, they can type in the word of the day. But if that person, say, is a speaker as well, you know, that means that they've got to pull it down. Is there a way to get a tile other than calling in with another device and typing in the word of the day?
The only thing I can think is if you do the screen share, then that will, and make sure that you're in side-by-side view, then you can see the speaker and the screen share at the same time. But honestly, I think that having someone logged in on a second device and just being, you know, have it muted and have the speaker off that device and just have that one presenting in their image.
We also just put it in the chat. There's other people that have in this chat mentioned that they also put the word of the day in the chat.
We do that too, yep.
Gloria Diaz says that she creates a virtual background for the word of the day.
Yep, I did that too. I just have I have a PowerPoint template that I use, and I can just I can put the word in. Anytime I'm changing the word, I just change it up and I can throw it up in the background.
So one problem with using the virtual background with the word of the day, depending on the screens that people are using to get into the meeting, they may not be able to actually read that because it becomes very small, or if they have any kind of visual problems, they're not going to be able to read that.
Yep. Always putting it in chat helps with both of that. So I think that's a good, I think you should always do the chat and do everything else supplementary to that. Anything else?
There's another question from Tammy. On occasion during the meeting, my Zoom will notify me that my internet connection is unstable. How do I address this?
Yes. So, Betty, I appreciate you saying at the beginning to help bandwidth, you know, people disable their video, and I appreciate that, absolutely. But even more important is your own Wi-Fi and internet speed. So before this meeting, we did a test on, I'm the presenter, I'm presenting, so we did a speed test on my laptop, and you can just go to Google and type in speed test, and it'll give you a button that says speed test. Click the button, and it will ping your internet service, and it will tell you how fast your download and your upload is. Depending on the service you pay for, that could be anywhere from 15 megabytes per second to 1,000. So if you find that it's really slow, then your best option for your best experience is to get a Ethernet cable and connect directly to your modem instead of using Wi-Fi for your meeting. That is exactly what we did today. I know that in a lot of situations I've seen people, the video freezes a lot and their sound goes in and out a lot. And that is a bandwidth problem on their end. And honestly, disabling people's videos in the meeting might help a little bit, but the real problem is the speed of their internet or their Wi-Fi. So my advice is, if it's important and you don't want to drop out, hardwire yourself in. And I would say that should absolutely 100% be true if you plan to participate in contests.
Thank you, Kristy. We have a new question. Is there a way to freeze a particular line in the chat so that it's always showing? For example, if you wanted to put your word of the day in the chat, to keep that word always on top.
No, there's not. But another option would be to create a little, PDF or a file or an image of your word of the day and definition, and you can put that file in the chat, and everyone can download that file and open it, and they can have it on their screen visible to them to remind them. I mean, that would be an option. There's no way to freeze the chat. You can continue typing it in over and over again. So the grammarian can always, follow up whatever chat has happened, put the word of the day in. Jim is saying take a picture of the chat. Oh, do you guys have the snippet tool? This is my favorite tool. I love the snippet
absolutely.
tool.
Me too.
So, take a snip of the chat with the word of the day so that you have that snip tool in front of you. I love the snipping tool.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Kristy, I have a question. I'm going to turn my virtual on so that you can see what I look like with a virtual background. When I do my hands, unless I put my hands right here, you can't see them. If I put them off to the side, they disappear. Yours are not doing that with your virtual background. Why is your background better than mine?
Because I have a green screen. So here's the thing. When you have a background that's got variation, I see Jim, it looks like he's in his kitchen. So he's got, a backsplash tile and cabinets. There's variation in the background image. There's variation in color, in texture, in shadows, and light. And all those variations requires your camera to do a lot of extra work in order to take all of those pixels and fill them in with a virtual background. So when you're moving over that space, your camera it just isn't good enough. The hardware is not good enough to make up for all of those variations. So that's why a green screen, which provides one consistent, smooth surface where the light there's no variation in light or texture or shadow, your camera can focus on other resources. It can focus its resources on following the image that it's supposed to be following.
Okay, so like David, you have a solid background behind you now with the Toastmaster thing. Wave your hands.
Yeah, mine does the same thing because I'm not using a virtual background.
Okay.
Or using a color, or using a green screen or a color.
Right, you are using a virtual background. You're not using a green screen. But see, David's laptop can do virtual backgrounds without a green screen, but it's still not perfect, right? Same thing with you, Betty. You can use a virtual background, but it's not perfect. You can improve the quality of your virtual background and your movements with a virtual background by using a green screen. Or if possible, I mean, if you can if you can set up a table and a chair in front of a blank wall that doesn't have anything on it, and you can put a light source in front of you that fully lights that whole space evenly, and there's very little variation, then it probably would do much better.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So we have some more questions on the chat here. How do you ensure your Zoom app is current?
Oh, we went through that already. Do we need to go through it again?
So I would answer that for, this was for Peggy. Peggy, you just want to check every now and then and make sure that it's current, probably maybe once a month.
Did you say how often
just click
or
on your Zoom lab.
How often?
Oh, how often? I don't know. I put a remind. How do you ensure your Zoom app is current? Yeah, personal responsibility and being an adult, right? We have to. I know that when Zoom is forcing an update, they definitely send emails to all of account holders saying, that you have to update by this date. Stay current. But yeah, I would just say, I don't know, put a reminder on your calendar once every 2 months just to go in, click on your profile and click check for updates. Oh, look, there is a new version, 5.2.3. I need to update. I'll do that later.
So then we have a question, does your green screen have to be green?
Absolutely not. So my green screen is two-sided, and I got it on Amazon, and it's you know those windshield screens in your car that you have to like twist up into origami and they roll up into they're very difficult, right? That's what mine does. And it's got two sides. It's got a blue side, and it's a very royal blue, and then it has a green side. But you can get a red one. You can use you can buy a black one or a white one. Those are the typical colors that they have for green screens available online. You can make one with, PVC pipe and some really thick fabric. Just make sure that the fabric is not sheer so light doesn't pass through it. And that
you just have it hanging from something behind you?
No, mine came with a stand, and it clips onto the stand, and the stand you can raise, and it looks like a standard tripod kind of stand. Yeah.
Okay. So you put it behind you, and then you put in your virtual, and it just looked like you have a virtual rather than a green screen.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Can you show how, if you had a different color, or how you change your green screen and your video settings, how you choose that color?
Okay. So in your settings, under background and filters, is where you'll find your virtual background options. And there we go. So this is where, and I've added a whole bunch in here. All of these are custom ones I added. So you can just change your background from all of these. And if you want to add one, you click on the plus and then add an image.
So what
and then it will browse. Okay,
so
what do you mean?
What I'm talking about is down here where you show that little dot where you had your green screen. Oh, now turn on your virtual background. So if you see down here where it says manually pick the color of the background I'm using, oh, it disappeared.
Oh, sorry. sorry. Okay, I see what you mean, this. So if you want it to detect, so basically if you have a wall color, then you click, I'm going to use that. So you would click on this box, manually pick the color of the background if the detected color is not accurate. So you can click on this box, and what it gives you is a little target symbol over your image. You guys see the target symbol?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then you would pick the color, and then it would recognize that. But it should automatically identify your background color if your background color is one color.
So now we have another question. How much does a green screen cost?
The cheap ones that are pretty small, I think I saw for maybe $40 on Amazon. And they can go very, very expensive pretty quickly. Anything else? Is Jim waving by, or does Jim have a question?
I made a green screen out of green poster board, a nickel piece, and put it on a piece of wood I already had. Cost me less than $3 to make a green screen.
That's a very good.
Yeah, the back, it's awkward to work around with, but and I'm replacing it, but it got me up and running, and I got to experiment with it.
Yeah, that's a good option.
Walt is answering all our questions for us in chat. Thank you, Walt. We should hire him. But there is another question from Teddy, and I'm just going to have you answer it. So the green screen sits behind you, and then you do a virtual background. Do I have that right?
Yes. Colleen?
Yeah, my background is my white curtains behind me. And as you can see, I can change my virtual background. Right now I have the winner of the table topics, which is free. Another one of those free backgrounds.
Yeah.
I did the update and I lost all of my backgrounds from Zoom, the free ones like you had, the waterfall, all those are gone when you did the update. So I'm re-putting my backgrounds back in here, but when you update, are you supposed to lose them? What happened?
It's possible. I have a folder for Zoom, and I have a folder in that folder that's for backgrounds. And so it's a pretty easy, quick, import for me if I need to. But yeah, you got to watch out for that.
So Colleen, I noticed in the latest version of Zoom update, I use multiple Zoom accounts. And what they've done based on the Zoom account, your virtual backgrounds are now in different locations. So if I log into one Zoom account, I have multiple virtual backgrounds. And if I log into my other Zoom account, none of those backgrounds exist. So they've kind of separated them based on who's using the Zoom account.
Oh, wow.
I think that happened with my profile picture too, David, because I lost it in this Zoom meeting. But in some Zoom meetings, I can do that still shot picture. But in here, I don't even have the option to, like she was saying, go to your settings and profile. My profile is gone.
Yeah, that happened to me too. I had a profile picture and then it disappeared and I don't know why.
But Lisa Raymond and I were on a meeting today and I flipped and it was there. But the meeting tonight, it's gone. It's kind of like what David said. There's no rhyme or reason to this. What's going on?
Yeah, some updates may wipe out some previous stuff. Now I don't want to upgrade. Everyone says their backgrounds are gone.
So you just slide all of your backgrounds into like a PowerPoint folder or something, and then once you do your upgrade, you just slide them all back?
No, they're individual image files, and you can only upload one image at a time. So
okay,
it takes a couple of minutes, but it's not that bad.
Okay, thank you.
Just pick your favorite 5 and don't go more than that.
I have one more question, Kristy. On the Toastmasters International contest, they did something I thought was pretty awesome. They had, and as the VP of Education for my club, I thought it'd be fun to take the screen and split it. And they had the person's picture of the winning, like the bottom, number 4. And they had the certificate on the one side and the person's picture on the other. And then the person that won second place and the person that did first place. They did that. How did they do that?
I don't know how they did that. I know how to do that in PowerPoint.
I think it was a recorded video that they actually edited. I don't think it was a live Zoom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but you could definitely do that in PowerPoint, and there should be enough time to, if the contest chair or the chief judge or whoever is, prepared, they could have, make sure that when they get, the participant profiles before a contest, they can request a picture, and then they can have those ready to go to update a PowerPoint slide if that's actually a pretty cool idea.
Even as the VP of E, when you go through a path and you complete that path, you could put that person's picture up in a certificate at the meeting. So I gotta play with that.
That's a great idea. That is a great idea.
Thank you all for attending, and if there's nothing else, I will let you guys go for the evening.
Great job, Kristy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for being here.